professional responsibility, looking to stars conduct. This comes as some
In and out, what the hell? Stop.
Rahm Emanuel, a top advisor to the president, had an interview with CNN.
And by his friend Vernon Jordan.
Her mother is friendly with Harry Conning Jr.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes. I know.
So whose jet did you go in?
I don't remember whose island, man. It was like something like an Exodus. You know, we were all behind these big rock fences.
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Greetings. How are you?
Good. Did you all do any method bowling to prepare for the movie?
Well, you know, it's funny. We were in the bowling alley for like 3 weeks, and I don't think I bowled a single frame. Ethan bowled a little.
Yeah, I did. I actually got a ball with, got it drilled for myself at the lane.
You already had an interest?
Well, not an obsessive interest like the characters really. I mean, when we were kids, we...
Where did the interest in bowling come from to do a movie that...
Well, I don't like bowling, but I like all the stuff kind of connected with bowling. I like the design sort of aspects of, the 50s. And there were a number of reasons. All the characters, bowling and the design, the sort of 50s or 60s sort of Gucci architecture that's associated with a lot of lanes in LA is always in it. Yeah.
I was reminded of one thing about
That's definitely true. That's another reason. And, it's kind of a buddy movie, and it just seemed like a convenient.
Almost a Cheech and Chong movie in a way.
Yeah, that's the way we looked at it, too.
It seems like, I wonder...
He's not kidding. Yeah.
Well, it made me think about your other movies, and I'm sort of the same age as you guys, and it made me think, this must come from a place of reality in your own lives, a little bit.
No, but we like Cheech and Chong movies. It's true.
It is actually something we mentioned. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's inevitable if you make a sort of movie where one of the characters is sort of ahead, that it's a comedy, it's going to be compared to Cheech and Chong movies. Not that we...
It's not like you did yourself.
No, we did. We, in fact, did ourselves. But geez.
So you're telling us that you're potheads?
No, we're saying we like Cheech and Chong.
In a former life, when you were in college, like all of us.
Yeah, I never inhaled.
How do you guys actually go about writing a script together? I mean, does one of you sort of do the main part of the writing and then the other guy comes in with ideas, or how does that work?
No, we just sit in a room together, and it's very, we don't divide it up in any sense. Just sit in a room together.
Do you write the dialogue, bounce it off each other?
Yeah.
So that one of you is, do you
No,
go
we
as
don't
a main
take
character?
no,
Oh,
no.
okay, all right.
So when you got the Oscar, was that like one of the deals?
What do you remember about
No.
that day?
I mean, it was interesting, but, it was interesting.
How so interesting?
For me, it was like watching it on TV, because it was really weird. It was kind of fun at first, and then it gets kind of boring. Show itself.
Did you bring the Oscar to the set the next day? Because you were filming this one while you won that, didn't you?
Yeah, we were. No, we didn't.
Where do you guys keep the Oscars? Both of them.
Jesus. In my apartment in New York. I mean,
You got two, though, in your family. Do you use them as bookends, or what?
No. They're just sitting on a...
Now, if Roderick James won an award, who would pick that up?
We had a negotiation with the Academy about that. We wanted somebody to accept it for him. Didn't allow that. They also don't allow proxy acceptances anymore ever since the Marlon Brando Sasheen Littlefeather thing. We couldn't have an old friend of Roderick James pick it up. So the Academy would have accepted it on his behalf.
I would think of it as sort of surreal that you have now been accepted through these Oscars as Englishmen or whatever, when you make, really weird kind of movies. I mean, does this ever strike you as ironic?
Actually, especially in the context of Fargo, which we thought was really odd movie.
Marginal movie. Yeah.
In which, I mean, you know, the commercial success, modest as it was by sort of Hollywood standards, surprised us, and certainly everything else associated with it in terms of.
It wasn't the Titanic. It was, you know, it was a very successful movie from a financial point of view, but in relationship to the budget.
Well, make more money than Titanic would.
Well, I guess
I mean,
that's
profit
possible.
wise.
It could make
That's
more money
right.
than the Titanic.
Well, it could make more.
You're vocal here. More money than the Titanic, probably.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, I would have said you might be right, but I don't think that's going to prove to be true.
How much money did Fargo bring in?
It was about $26 million. Well, it cost $6 to make, or, you know.
How did highly doubtful.
The Busby Berkeley influences on this film, how much Busby Berkeley did you watch? And also, when you're getting ready to segue like into the flashbacks with Jesus, you know, the Jesus flashback, and then the unconscious scenes with Jeff Bridges, how do you go about segueing that into the regular narrative?
Well, we didn't watch a lot of Busby Berkeley in connection right before the movie, although we've both seen lots of Busby Berkeley. I mean,
Yeah, it's a color thing. Was it Whoopi Eddie Cantor?
yeah,
that's
Yeah.
what
Cantor.
Cantor.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
And you know, I've always loved Busby Berkeley, but we didn't watch a lot of it in connection with this. What was the other thing you were asking?
Well, just how you blend the segues, like you have the flashback with Jesus where he's going up and introducing himself to his neighbors as a pederast, or when Jeff Bridges gets knocked unconscious, the movie sort of goes into this other mood, or you go into the movie trailer for Gutter Balls.
Right.
How do you go about building that, you know, when you're putting the film together, just to make that flow there?
Well, I think those were all in the script except for the Jesus flashback, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh man, they're each different. I mean, in terms of what we actually did. But the lead into the flying thing is he just gets shot. Those just done. You know, that's just a computer effect starting with. Maybe your question is more general than that. I don't really. Since it is a movie about a pothead, we felt we had sort of license to do some sort of
Thinking about, you know, or what would go through his mind.
In 4 of your movies, at least, you have a similar character, which is an older guy, a person of authority, usually a big guy,
Yeah.
who's an asshole. What is this coming from in your lives?
Quite often.
That's true. We have noticed that ourselves. I'm not sure where it comes from.
Is this a father thing you're working out, or a...
No, our father's very slim and never sits behind a desk.
Is it just not a fear or a dislike of authority, or is it a...
We noticed it, but it's not like we have sort of analyzed it intellectually and figured out why we keep putting that character in.
And also, there's some other motifs. Maybe you could just very quickly give a phrase or sentence as to why you think you like to use this stuff, or where it comes from, or whatever. There's kidnapping in several of your movies.
Yeah.
What about that?
Over and over again.
Why is it convenient?
Well, you know, that's just this high stakes, and it involves sort of disparate groups of people that don't necessarily come in contact with each other otherwise, and it's kind of an ongoing sort of crime as opposed to sort of a discrete sort of I mean, these are all kind of, you know, people have asked us this before, and there are all reasons which have.
Did you see?
There's no real, obsession with kidnapping, I think,
You
except
weren't
as a
obsessed
sort
with it as a
of.
child.
Did you see A Life Less Ordinary?
No.
Because Danny Boyle is doing the Coen Brothers.
I haven't seen many lately, just because all the Christmas movies.
You've influenced a lot of directors with like Blood Simple and Raising Arizona. when you go see films from newer directors who've come up in the 90s, do you ever see your influences and then, in a weird sort of way, pick up influences from them?
Well, I must say not at all, like seeing our own influence. I mean, that's something that people occasionally that I've seen, and it always like mystifies me a little bit.
Well, like Shallow Grave, for instance, you mentioned Danny Boyle, and he said that scene within the ceiling where all the shafts of light
Yeah,
are
well,
coming
that
out
one
was taken.
specific thing, actually, yeah, right, yeah.
Occasionally there's something, but it's usually, filtered through somebody else's sensibility and changed to their own, made to their own sort of purposes, to the extent that it's hard for us to recognize what they may have taken from us, which is good. I mean, that means that there's...
Yeah, right,
it's
exactly.
like-
If they really appropriate it, then it's fine, and maybe that's why I'm sort of blind to it. Now, actually, the same for the second half of your question, stuff that influences us, to the extent our interest to other people than it is to us.
What's Hollywood offering you guys after the Oscar? Money at you now in a way that they didn't as much, or?
I wish they had. No, nobody's throwing money at us, but,
I don't know. I wouldn't have characterized it that way. I mean, to me, it's more of a sort of consistently. We were kind of thinking about it. Raymond Chandler doing that kind of story, an intrigue story set in L.A. In terms of what kind of narrative it is, it seems like it is sort of. To me, at any rate, it seems consistently that sort of.
it's sort of an
mystery,
episodic
intrigue.
quest, like a Chandler story. Moves through different, society in LA, you meet these different characters. The character is trying to sort of unravel a mystery or figure out what's going on, and sort of if the story, the plot had as Ethan said, had a consistent,
Talk a bit about working with Roger Deakins, because he gives a great look to all your films. Can you just tell us why you like working with him and sort of how it goes on the set?
Well, why do we like working with Roger?
I'm asking you.
It's a fair question. It's
Yeah.
just, it's hard to answer. It's.
Yeah,
Well, you keep going back to the same guy, so there must be...
yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
obviously two things. We really just like Roger personally.
He's very quiet.
He does what he's told, you mean?
No, not at all. It's a real collaboration with Roger. I mean, Roger, you're right. Roger is very much responsible for the look of the movies and is very much a part of all of the sort of decision-making that goes into all of the movie is in general and all of the sort of specific sort of, decisions that are made in terms of what to do to realize it.
Into where that comes from in your lives and how you grew up, or how you play off each. I mean, it's so different than what we are used to saying in a movie, the detail.
Mr. Deacon's question.
I gotta tell you, what?
No, but I mean, did you guys, I don't know.
I hear what you're saying, but to tell you the truth, it's not something that, I don't know where it comes from. We just don't spend any energy, thinking about that, you know what I mean?
I know you don't,
We sit
but-
around in a room and we come up with these stories, but in terms of like thinking, why this story as opposed to that story, or why are we sort of, I understand why you're interested in it, and
It
it is a
different,
perfectly legitimate
yeah.
thing to be interested in. It's just not something that we
I mean, were your
have any-
parents aware?
can really help you with.
Were your parents aware that
Honestly.
you were unusual, or that you had a special talent, or?
They're still not aware. Yeah.
Do you
Did
remember
you,
the first thing you did
wrote this-
together? Do you guys remember the first thing you did when you were kids together, the first movie?
First movie?
And what was it about?
The first movie we did together was probably a remake of The Naked Prey in Super 8.
Did you ever watch it again?
I don't think it's around.
Yeah.
I don't know where it would be.
Yeah.
That's that Cornel Wilde film, right? Where he's,
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
we're-
Another,
How old were you guys then?
Let me see, probably, 12 or 13 or, I don't know.
who asked for the Super 8 camera that somebody asked your parents for when you were a little kid?
Either we had one, like my father had one, or we asked him to get, I don't know. It's just, we're going back a long ways here.
You wrote this 2 years ago, right? I mean, this was written before Fargo.
Well, it's like a lot of the stuff we do, we sort of start something and we may write like, 30, 40 pages of it, and then we may go on to something else, or we may hit a part of it that we don't quite know what to do with and put it aside for a while, and this one wasn't that different. We sort of wrote a certain amount of it a few years ago, and then we went back to it before Fargo, and then we went back to it after Fargo, and
What I'm getting at, is there more in a drawer someplace? I mean, these
yeah.
kind of scripts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been sort of piling up. I mean, not finished script, the scripts in various stages of.
Or which one's coming next for us?
no.
Do you write with actors in mind? I mean, you have actors that you use so often and are so good in your films. Do you now write with those folks in mind?
Yeah, actually, we always have. I mean, not exclusively, but some of the parts in probably all of our.
He's like a no-nonsense kind of actor.
Very no nonsense.
What advice did he give you? I mean, it was your first
What?
major. What advice did he give you? Did he say anything to you on that first film you were doing?
No,
What
it just
advice?
made fun of us.
Yeah.
Is this it?
No,
Yeah.
no advice.
Another recurring theme in your work is a moral.
I'm calling it a student film.
That's what we call it? Did he really?
Yeah, sneered at us
Yeah.
in a very unhostile way.
Yeah, no, he's kind of a curmudgeon, but he's a great guy.
I gotta tell
That
you,
was what he said for Blood Simple.
Yeah.
So, call it a student.
Yeah.
There's also a moral inquiry that I think animates your work in many of your films. Is that something that you are explicitly?
I gotta tell you just about Roger Deakins, to summarize our relationship. See, Roger always eats, he's also slender. He always eats salads at lunch. And we were
Right.
out scouting in rural Minnesota once, and we got him, we stopped at a 7-Eleven and we bought Roger a Mickey's strawberry roll-up, the little Mickey's cake with, it's like angel food. And he said,
Very politely, thank you.
thank you, and he slipped it into his pocket, and that was that.
But actually, we did that also on Barton Fink, too. Remember when then
I
we found some horrible thing, and then we found it later, underneath the set. He's too polite to say no, but then he takes it and he sticks it somewhere.
But you can't be resting too long now. I mean, you've got to be going into something soon.
Yeah, that's true.
that dog that John Goodman has, when he barks, were you treating the sound effect there? It sounds like the dog is.
That's actually very interesting.
Some of it's a human.
That's a.
It sounded like he was
human
saying
voice.
something.
Oh, really? The dog was?
Yeah, did you treat
Oh,
the
no,
bark or something?
No,
or-
we just got some guy who does good dog bark to go on the booth there. When we
Also, there's a lot of references to the Eagles, and The Stranger says some days you eat the bear, and some days the bear eats you. That was scratched onto an Eagles record. Was that like a subtle,
That was
do you know about that, or?
no, I
Some days the
don't.
bear, okay.
Can you talk about Jeff
Well, no,
Bridges?
but I want to hear it.
No, you know how they, when they had LPs, they would, like on the original pressings, they would scratch little messages on the inside, where the label is. And on one of the early Eagles albums, it says, "Some days the bear eats you," so I thought that was another reference to the
Really?
Eagles, because you have Hotel California
That is
and the
really
guy getting
bizarre.
kicked out of
I
the,
had no
That's
idea.
bizarre.
Was it-
What?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Bizarre.
Jeff Bridges, can I just ask really quick? Did you guys tell him to get a beer gut, or was that, did you?
Oh, I think it
No.
was clear from, not explicitly, but it was,
Yeah.
clear from the character, who the character was,
Why?
into health, fitness, and beauty.
Wasn't into health, fitness, and beauty, and what else? Why did you pick, why was he right for the dude?
Why is he right for the dude? He, well, not for any sort of specific reason associated with the character. He's one of those actors, you're right, we write when it's the
him.
right opportunity.
I mean, what about him
There
did
are
you like
like really
that you-
intangible reasons, you know, it's hard to, it's always hard to like quantify that or make.
But you think he's funny in the movies and that
Yeah.
hasn't been brought out, or?
No, I think it actually, he's been funny in lots of movies where it has been brought up, and that's what sort of seemed, part of what seemed very.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, guys.